Okay, so this video is a little bit out of my usual style, if you can even say I have such a thing, but I need to get this off my chest, okay? The Spyro games. We all know them, we love them all, or at least the ones that matter, and especially the Reignited trilogy. Fun fact, did you know that that game was actually dubbed to a whole bunch of languages, including Danish for some reason?
Virker det, professor?
Næsten. Lige et par justeringer på disse kugler, og...
Det er måske en dårlig idé. Hvis vi tager en drage med hertil, bliver Riptor måske mere vred.
Det virker! Det virker! Jeg har en drage!
Wow, hård landing. Hej, hvilken vej er stranden? Hey, stop med at stirre. Har I aldrig set en drage før? Er du en drage? Har du et problem med det, missekat?
Nå, en eller anden glemte at invitere mig til festen. Forsøgte du at skjule noget fra mig?
Hvem var den nar? Ja, hvordan ender vi i de her problemer, kammerat?
In case you couldn't tell, Riptor feels like he's the only one actually trying, and thus he gets the half-gold star I was initially planning on giving Dirt 5 Strider. And aside from that, it's exactly as painful as you'd expect, and it feels like they literally ran this script through Google Translate, but it does give me an idea for a meme stream. The Spyro Reignited trilogy, but every homeworld talks a different language that isn't English, so look out for that at some point. It's all good and innocent enough until your mind drifts to a subject that the series comes dangerously close to touching upon several times over the years. That, of course, being how the fuck... Whew, saved it. First question, what's been established about dragons in this universe? Well, they're reptiles and they lay eggs. I know this because they're scaly and the third game exists. Checks out so far. But where did the eggs come from and why are they just left on the floor for anyone to steal? This, you'll hopefully soon begin to realize, is where the Spyro universe begins to tear at the very fabric of its own existence, because we aren't actually introduced to any female dragons until the 5th game. And while the canonicity of A Hero's Tale is kinda pending at the moment, I will die on the hill that it's a better game than you think it is, especially because that was the first game to canonize a Dragon Maternity Ward. Take that, Duckverse! So now that we've got the fundamentals sorted, let's start forming a couple of theories. Theory number 1. Female dragons exist but are either severely outnumbered or far more cowardly than the males. Now this one's relatively straightforward and doesn't require too many leaps in logic. I mean, who's to say there aren't a bunch of female dragons hiding out behind the castle door? And again, canonicity pending, there are at least 3 female dragons in the Spyroverse, 2 of which are or have been Spyro's love interest at some point. Damn, hitting it up with 67% of all female dragons in the franchise? My man's got game. And don't tell me Miss Shoutfire over there wouldn't want to get in on the action if it wasn't legally pedophilia. There's a video idea about Spyro's actual age in there somewhere. It's also been fairly well established that the dragons have both masculine and feminine pronouns, so they definitely know what genders are.
I've got to save her.
What? Save the beast that's been trying to kill us?
Yeah, that wasn't her fault. She was being used by the Dark Master.
Which just further leads me to conclude that there's got to be a large number of female dragons out there, otherwise why would they be so inclined to use masculine pronouns? This kind of leads into a different theory we'll get to in a moment, trust me. An alternative to the males outnumbering the females is that they're separated by sex at some point, but the presence of at least 2, again we'll get there, female dragons in A Hero's Tale kinda poops all over this theory. And speaking of pooping, theory number 2, Parthenogenesis, aka the dragons can get it on, but they don't have to. We're venturing a bit out of the standard Spyro canon here, I'll admit, but stick with me. In at least the first season of Skylanders Academy, we get a series of what's supposed to be poop jokes, but because the character used for these is Jetpack, he just craps out an egg and claims that's totally natural. Assuming he's not just trying to divert attention from the fact that he's just given birth, let's assume he's right and we can use science to fill in the blanks. You see, in the real world, birds all evolved from avian dinosaurs, which were closely related to non-avian dinosaurs. Mind-boggling stuff, I know. And there's a non-zero chance that the various folklores from around the world about dragons are simply ancient people trying to make sense of these honking big bones that stick out of the ground. In other words, dragons are basically dinosaurs and birds evolved from that, and since these, as far as I know and I'm willing to research, are the only times we see an actual birthing in the Spyro universe, we can't say that's not an ancestral condition, because that's definitely how science works. This also handily explains why the eggs are just littered all over the place in the beginning of the 3rd game. But Rallimon, you're totally not a furry in denial. I hear you ask. Doesn't A Hero's Tale kinda ruin this theory as well, seeing as it introduces female dragons as a concept and all the eggs were presumably placed in the purpose-built maternity ward at the start of the game? To which my answer would be a big fat no. If we're maintaining that sexes and/or genders exist in the dragon world, it's plausible that females exist just to clean up and do a minimum of organizing the eggs because something maternal instincts. And if the Parthenogenesis theory has convinced you of otherwise, who's to say they're not all big fans of Amber Heard? And then, of course, there's always the option that should really alienate any conservative viewers I may have, to which I say good riddance. Theory number 3, the dragons will change sex as need be. Oh, I see you there, people expecting me to play that clip from Jurassic Park and calling it a day, and yeah, that's basically it. Essentially, all dragons start with one set of reproductive organs, but can switch it out like it's a weapon in an RPG. Again, not all that unreasonable, considering there's plenty of living animals in our real world that can pretty much do that. So who's to say the giant humanoid dragons can't? There's another video idea for you. At what point in their lifetime do dragons turn humanoid? I really should make videos more often, huh? And best of all, this is an idea that A Hero's Tale fully supports, because while it is hilariously convenient that both the female dragons are pink, so is Magnus. That's right, Magnus came out as trans in 2004, way before it was cool. Good on you, Magnus. So with this being an idea that's universally supported, we can conclude that both Magnus and Jetpack are actually a kind of trans representation in kids' media. But we still don't know what's up with all the Year of the Dragon stuff and how dragons can only hatch every 12 years or whatever. Because if eggs only get laid every 12 years, why are there eggs in both the first and the fifth game? No, the answer to that isn't retconning, nor is it the whole eggs can cryo themselves, which is apparently a thing. The truth is that in any year other than the Year of the Dragon, they eat their own eggs. If you think about it, with the exception of the Reignited trilogy, which reuses one design for the sake of saving on development time, every time we've seen an egg in a Spyro game, it's been a completely different design and a go from a different season, meaning eggs can only last so long and they're only protected every 12 years. So frankly, why let it go to waste? But wait! I hear, as a certain someone from the back of the classroom once again raises their hand, does that legally make the dragons cannibals? Well, let me answer that question with a question. Do you seriously think hens are pro-life? Even vegetarians, who famously don't eat meat, don't hesitate when it comes to eggs, but vegans do because it falls under the animal byproduct rule. In short, neither of them really care whether the thing that's inside the eggs is a living thing or not. My point with this metaphor being that even if the BBQ mayo you used for your 4th of July roast was vegan-based, the choice of whether or not to abort should be with the individual woman, not past or prime old dudes who need a personal nurse. Fucking got him. Wait, shit, I violated the no swear rule right at the end. Fuck!